Hello, parents. This is Anne Arundel County Public Schools, and you're listening to the Maryland Crabs Podcast.
Live from a grungy kitchen table located in Annapolis, Maryland's scenic and historic capital, it's the Maryland Crabs Podcast. With each episode, your hosts, Tim Hamilton, John Frenay, and the occasional guest will dive in and pick apart the stuff that really matters most to you. We're too lazy to actually solve any of these problems, but we can definitely stir the pot. From schools, politics, parking in the fire lane, to those horrible people who drive BMWs. And here with this week's episode, live from the kitchen table, Tim Hamilton and John Frenay.
And it's the Maryland Crabs. We're
on
back.
A snow day. I drove over, I braved the roads and came over and
Is that coming from a wussy Marylander attitude?
No, so I lived in Western PA in the mountains of Western PA for 6 years, 4 years for college, and a couple years after. So I learned how to drive in the snow. So I'm pretty confident, and the roads are still pretty lousy. So I slid down your street. I missed a lady who had great reflexes, by the way.
Good.
And when I get home, I expect that all my sidewalks and driveways will be shoveled and gleaming because my kids will jump to it.
Sure. Well, you know,
they're not out of bed yet.
I think it's very admirable that you risked life and limb for this podcast.
That's the kind of dedication I have to our fans, John.
I know.
And also I had to get out of the house because I was going to burn down my house and everybody in it.
Kill somebody.
If I didn't get out. So if we want to stretch this out to a couple hours, I'm good with it. I think I just said see it and flew out the door.
Well, anyhow, we're coming off of Mayor Buckley.
The one that I was on, and then...
The one that you were, and then
I
weren't.
wasn't, yes.
Yeah. And, you know, I'll tell you...
We recorded that, and then we had an error with the recording, so John had to redo it, and I was out of it.
Well, you know, he told us about Teresa Sutherland as the city manager.
Right.
But he said, we got to take that off. Actually, he didn't say
He
that.
didn't say that.
Susan said
Right.
we had to. And then he said it the second time, and I asked him specifically...
He dropped the name, Teresa Sutherland, for that he was going to nominate as city manager.
Right.
And it was premature, so he kind of blurted that out because that's how he rolls. And his handler, who was there, was kind of glared at us, that's Susan O'Brien, and she's like shaking her head, and he's like, it's fine. And so we, being the gentlemen that we were, we took it out.
And he dropped it again the second time, and I asked him on the way down, we were walking down the steps, and I said... You said that again. Do you want me to take it out? He says, no, I think it's fine. Let it in.
And John's like, all right, let it in. And I'm like, no,
and then
we can't do that.
Yeah, so we called Susan, and she said, no, take it out. And then they released it like the next day. But we had the clip.
Right.
So we know that. We'll have to see whether Teresa Sutherland gets approved or not. I think she's got some challenges.
Yeah, it was a good interview. I think he's doing... I like what he's doing so far. It's very different. And I think there's a lot of movement. I think he gets some criticism, as all elected officials should, and especially the Eastport Forum. But that was a good interview.
Overall, he is doing good. And I know that in an interview that the Capitol did after his 100 days, because we were there first. Mm-hmm. Take that, Rick.
Yeah. Rick hates us.
He said that he's looking to develop the former Public Works thing into a outdoor amphitheater with a home for the Annapolis Film Festival. And I was talking to the Annapolis Film Festival, and they said, we hadn't heard about that, and outdoor amphitheaters really doesn't work. It doesn't really work for us.
He's an idea guy.
So I don't know whether he got the organizations confused or wrong. Or
he's one with the Shakespeare Company, maybe.
Or whatnot, I don't know. But speaking of the Annapolis Film Festival...
You've been a busy boy.
Well, yeah, a little bit. But it's opening... And I will say this tomorrow night, but which will be tonight when you're hearing this, if you're listening to this on Thursday when it releases, with Beirut, which is a movie about Beirut.
The baseball player?
Yeah. And but starring John Hamm. And that all gets underway at about 7:30 at Maryland Hall tonight as you're listening to this. And you will see like searchlights and all that kind of stuff in the sky, so don't think we're being bombed or... So if anyone asks you like what the searchlights are for, that's for the Annapolis Film Festival.
You should have everything plowed out by then.
But it runs through Sunday. You can still get tickets and passes at AnnapolisFilmFestival.com. I do suggest that you do that. You can get individual tickets to movies if you just want to see one or two. You can see what's showing online at AnnapolisFilmFestival.com. Or
and
you
John
can
has
buy
a ton of crab cakes, or little crab cakes out there with the show.
There's about 5 or 6 of them.
That's a lot.
So I'm looking forward to it. I will not be anywhere to be seen on Friday because I will be in the movies myself. Mm-hmm. But this week's episode ain't no bullshit.
I am so disappointed that I missed this, in all honesty, and I don't want to compliment you. I didn't say too much or ever because you get a big head, but this was actually one of my favorite ones that we've done, and I wasn't even there. because like we said, I've been running around a lot lately, so John's been handling the heavy lifting. But I really enjoyed this. I listened to it, and I really wish I was part of that one. We got to have him on for a drinking podcast.
We should. Dr. David Tengwall is a 39-year professor at Anne Arundel College.
Sounds like he's
That's
25.
not right. I keep messing this name up. He bitch slapped me when I called it Anne Arundel County Community
College. Which I enjoyed,
College.
by the way.
And he said, there is no community in there. And I'm like, well, that's kind of a fun, or there's no county in there. But it is Anne Arundel
Community College.
AACC.
Yeah, write it down. It's not hard.
Been there for 39 years. It's a great school. And he realized that he saw a syllabus online from a school out in the West about bullshit and recognizing bullshit in the media and bullshit pretty much all through your life. So we said, we know a lot about bullshit.
Oh, yeah, we do.
We should probably call him. And we did. And we sat down with him. And it was a great interview.
It was very good.
He's a great guy. And I missed the class because it has just started, but I will totally be on this class in the fall. I want to take this and see what this is all about. And I would suggest anybody that's at Anne Arundel Community College to take a class with Tengwall. I think he'd be a great professor to have.
Yeah, he's got high energy. I really liked. He had clarity of thought, which I really like. Mm-hmm. He's very passionate about the subject. So
pulls no punches. So
yeah, I like it.
We'll get right into that, but
well, you want to find us on Facebook too. There's no bullshit there. So we have a page. We have a group on Facebook. You also find us on Twitter at MD Krabs Podcast. See, I got that right. If I didn't stumble over that for once. You can email us at info@themarylandcrabs. You can find us at themarylandcrabs.com. You can subscribe to us. Please subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts or Google Play or anywhere that you find your podcast. And be sure to rate us. And so rate us and give us a review. That's extremely important to the algorithms because it pushes us out to more people. And you can find us on YouTube. You can find us everywhere. John's been busy. And on Alexa. And also you can find the Annapolis Daily Briefing. John does a killer job with that every morning. You can set up that skill on your Alexa app so that you can access us on your Alexa.
Let's stop with the bullshit, man. Let's get into Dr. Tengwall.
And you know what? Don't listen to the Annapolis Daily Briefing. It's bullshit.
Hi, this is Randy.
And Claudia Boldiga. Please join us and our presenting sponsor, RXNT, on Saturday, April 28th on AAMC's South Campus for Denim and Diamonds Bash. Proceeds will benefit mental health and addiction services in our community. Now more than ever, we need to focus on this critical need.
The bash sold out last year, so don't delay and join us for this fabulous night under the stars. Can't make the party? You can still help by purchasing a raffle ticket.
This year's raffle is a stunning 4-piece amethyst jewelry collection donated by Cezanne Jewelers, valued at $5,000. Only 100 tickets will be sold for the raffle, so don't miss out. For event or raffle tickets, go to aamcdenimanddiamonds.org.
Thanks for your support of Anne Arundel Medical Center's efforts to improve the availability of mental health and addiction services throughout our community.
Remember, it's not just a party, it's a party with a purpose.
Very few things in life are so precious and so irreplaceable that we all must do our part to protect them. The Chesapeake Bay is one of those things. You can do your part by contributing to the Chesapeake Bay and Endangered Species Fund. It's that little line item you'll see at the very end of your Maryland tax return. Any amount you give makes a difference, and it's tax deductible. I'm Peter Francho, Maryland Comptroller. Our bay and rivers thank you. Learn more about the Chesapeake Bay Trust at cbtrust.org.
We're here today at the Commons, and we have Dr. David Tengwall, who is a 39-year professor at Anne Arundel County Community College. And when I saw that, I was like, they've been around 39 years. Wow. Which is phenomenal.
It's been over there for a long time.
It's phenomenal. Anne Arundel County is such a great school. I had two of my kids go through it. Oldest is now doing cyber protection for the University of Maryland Systems, so he got his start at Anne Arundel County Community College. And my middle one did 2 years there, got her degree or 2 associates in social science, I guess, and she's an investigator with Department of Social Services in North Carolina now.
So it's Anne Arundel Community College.
I know, I messed that up.
It's not Anne Arundel County.
Right, Anne Arundel Community College.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. Okay. Now that I've been corrected and slapped, I'll make sure that I don't.
I won't slap you too many times.
Well, I know that some people are very, very.
No. I didn't know how.
Oh, absolutely. Well, why we have Dr. Tengwall here, and this is just absolutely fantastic because you have developed a new, I don't want to say a full curriculum, but a course, which, on Fox TV at one point we had Bill O'Reilly in the no spin zone. And now here in Anne Arundel County, we've got Dr. David Tengwall in the no bullshit zone.
Exactly. It was about a year ago, and I was doing one of those infamous search on the web just for nothing in particular. And I came upon a course that two professors from the University of Washington were offering, and they put their syllabus on the internet. And obviously
So you and I look at totally different things on the internet.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to go there with you, John. Anyway, my wife has a block on that. Anyway, the title intrigued me, and they put their syllabus on the internet because they actually wanted college professors from around the country, and now of course it's gone around the world, to perhaps actually use their syllabus as a template to offer similar courses at their colleges. And the reason for it is because, especially if you come out to Anne Arundel, you walk around the campus, it's impossible to see students with their nose buried in their iPhones. And of course you see it, just people walking down the streets of Annapolis.
Well, New York City has warnings on some of the sidewalks, so people are looking beyond,
Exactly.
Watch out, there's a bus coming.
Exactly. And unfortunately, in regards to a lot of what they're looking at on their iPhones, the information that's on there is completely unfiltered.
Sure.
And of course, being hopefully inquisitive students, as they are at Anne Arundel, they're like sponges, and of course they're absorbing this information. And what these two instructors, it was a biology instructor and a computer science instructor that originated this course. What they wanted to do really was to initiate a course that almost had kind of a civic responsibility to it. And I've really kind of picked up on this. I feel almost kind of like a Johnny Appleseed that I'm kind of spreading the word here too.
I get that.
In regard to, in a democracy, it is necessary to have a critical thinking populace, not one that's being inundated with information that is wrong or especially tainted one way or the other. Or in other words, bullshit. And their course was entitled Calling Bullshit. Theirs was a more technical course. And indeed, I have copied much of their syllabus. And so my course, Calling Out Bullshit.
The full name of the course is Calling Out Bullshit, The Art of Deceptive Misrepresentation.
Exactly. The first 2/3 of the class actually does mirror their class in that I look at how statistics are used, how graphs and charts, how the distinction between correlation versus causation is oftentimes used in the wrong way. And so I'm literally trying to initiate a whole new mindset in these kids on how virtually everything that they read or hear, they're going to be looking at it and digesting it in a completely different way, not just absorbing it and accepting it blindly, but rather to continuously have this kind of, again, mindset. Can it be wrong? Can it be right? And let's do a little bit more investigative, especially when it comes to statistics and charts and graphs and so
Putting
on.
out a world of cynics for you.
No.
Class at a time.
No. The word cynic I don't want to use.
No?
Indeed, in my very first class, I emphasize I do not want to create either skeptics or cynics. I want individuals to become more critical.
Okay.
There's a distinction between being a skeptic and a cynic and being someone that's critical. Critical is someone that's going to take those ideas that they do in fact encounter and then investigate them more thoroughly. And this is not a political course, by the way. This is a course that's looking at virtually everything that comes out on the news. Now, as I say, the first 2/3 of the class is just looking at those kinds of ways by which bullshit is
this is nothing new because I mean, you used to have the lines. We've got lies, and statistics.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely not. I mean, I have quotes that go back to Descartes. I have a great quote from a guy from Oxford University in 1914 that says the essence of a college education is to teach students to discern rot. R-O-T. Of course, that's a nice Oxford way of saying
bullshit.
And so that's basically what the first 2/3 are. Then, I will admit, the last 2/3 of the class, I am looking at bullshit in medicine. One of the great things that came out a few years ago about vaccines causing autism. I'm looking at bullshit in food. Whether it is organic, not organic, that kind of thing. I'm looking at bullshit in advertising. What a great one,
That's
business.
where the roots were.
Oh yeah, and then finally, I am looking at the last 2 sessions. It's a 15-session class. It's only a 1-credit class, but the last 2 sessions will deal with politics
and world events.
The first one on politics in general, the second one in regards to the more current. Just in the paper this morning, I don't know if you saw it, Trump actually admitted, in the paper this morning, today, he admitted that when he was speaking with Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, he said, I didn't even know the information that I was telling him in regards to the trade deficit. I made it up. The interesting thing about this class, the class is predicated on a book that was written by a philosophy instructor from Princeton University. His name is Harry Frankfurt, and it's entitled On Bullshit. And Frankfurt, in his book, it's a small little book, about 100 pages. He distinguishes between someone who lies and someone who bullshits. A liar knows the truth and tells something different. A bullshitter doesn't care what the truth is.
It's sort of like manslaughter and murder. You're premeditated. Murder is premeditated.
I guess so. Yes. I never used that analogy, but I guess so, yes. Because what a bullshitter is trying to do is just to embellish his own or her own reputation or how they look in the other person's eyes, or to make a point. And again, it's something that unfortunately has become so ingrained, I hate to use that word, but it has become so prominent within society today that unfortunately it has tainted the way individuals perceive actual facts.
Well, one of the questions that sort of came to my mind, and I think I may know the answer just because of the bullshit we're seeing coming out of Washington in any number of ways, but as we've said, bullshit's been around forever, and going back to, 1914 in Oxford?
Yeah.
Why now?
Well, to be honest, I was moved by encountering this course. I will admit.
Now, when did that come out? When
it was offered for the very first time in the spring of 2017.
Okay, now
and so as far as I know, Princeton and Harvard are offering this class. I understand that it's being offered over at the UK, in Germany. As far as I know, Anne Arundel is the only community college
in the nation.
As far as I know,
right.
I probably could be proven wrong right away, but as far as I know, we're the only ones that have initiated this class.
And then, are you the only one also in Maryland too?
I know.
Yeah. Which is fascinating. You sit there and you look at, like I say, what's coming out of Washington, and we've got an election coming up. There's going to be, the bullshit gates have been opened, and you're going to be flooded with that. How specifically do you have any, tips on? Not everybody can be in your class, at least at this point, because it's by the time this airs, will have started, but because it is going to started on March 19th.
Yeah.
When they come back from spring break for 15 weeks or 15?
It's 15 sessions. It's an 8-week class. We meet for 8 weeks. So it's 50-minute sessions, yes, Monday and Wednesdays.
It looks like that could be a good non-credit class for just...
Well, it is. It's being offered as credit, non-credit. Through the adult ed, it's offered credit, non-credit.
Okay.
So they, like a senior, they can sign up for classes for free, basically, at Anne Arundel. Well, they could sit in this class.
Now, is this going to be a continuing class? Hopefully.
Yes, I'm going to offer it in the fall. Right now, I foresee it being offered every semester.
Give me some examples. I mean, okay, you said medicine about we talked about the vaccine and autism there, the food, the GMOs, the organic. I mean, I know one thing I've often said, much to a lot of my friends that are in the restaurant business, and they're all talking about the farm to table. And I've often said that's just, it's not really farm to table. It's kind of more of a marketing plan.
Of course it is.
There's no farm to a slaughterhouse to a to a truck there. So it's a little bit of a misnomer. And I mean, is that considered bullshit
Yes.
in your?
If you look at the pure, ironically, my son-in-law is preparing to open a restaurant in Bethany, and it's actually going to be on what was a farm, and they actually are going to grow. So that is farm to table. That is his goal. Now, could every restaurant say it's farm to table? Sure. But it's really
a long
exactly. Just as you mentioned just a second ago. Yeah, went through all the processing. Yeah, it started at a farm someplace. So that's kind of bullshit. It's not really the way that the farm to table advertisement is meant to be. And that's a good example of the stuff that's coming out. And of course, I have so many examples of how statistics have been used, or correlations versus causation, and if this is this and this is that. Let me give you a good example, and I'm sure you're familiar. When the press secretary Spicer came out, that more people saw the president, and I can't believe that Spicer didn't pick up on this. And of course, everybody bullshitted.
I agree.
Everybody bullshitted Spicer, showing the picture of the Obama 2009, and the thing is, more people did see because they were seeing it on their computers.
Right.
That means of seeing the inauguration didn't even exist in 2009.
Nope.
So you could actually say more people showed up for Trump's inauguration driving a Tesla than the Obama
ones.
Thus, there are more people in favor of pollution control for the Trump inauguration than for the Obama. See,
right.
you could. It's such bullshit.
Well, you look at. I mean, take it back on the inauguration. I mean, the first televised inauguration. I mean, from the prior. I don't know what the date was, but the prior administration, it was okay. Well, there was millions of people watching on television, but there was only 100,000 people on the mall.
That's right.
To watch it. So it's and I did see that. And I'm surprised that Spicer.
I'm surprised Spicer didn't do that, but again, he was obviously raked through the coals, as was many others. Again, there's so many examples of that kind of thing.
What's the difference between an agenda or a bent and bullshit? Okay, let's take Fox News. Okay, obviously very right leaning. Some could say bullshit. Is it just an agenda to that, or?
I think it is, unfortunately, just as MSNBC is saying for the liberal side. It's interesting to note that in regards to, in this case, the news agencies, or even in what we read, people tend to read and to listen to those news sources that only reestablish and reaffirm their already established beliefs. In other words, a conservative is going to watch Fox News and not watch MSNBC.
He wants his ego stroked.
Versus a liberal is not going to watch Fox News, thinking that it's all bullshit, and they're just going to watch. I don't know how old you are, but when I grew up,
I'm 55.
Walter Cronkite.
Yes,
he was God.
Yep.
Nobody doubted what he said. Nobody doubted Huntley and Brinkley. Nobody doubted Harry Reasoner.
Yep.
In other words, back in those days, news agencies basically had all the same facts, and they told the same facts. Now we're getting facts being told in a completely different way. Facts are actually now, that's probably the reason why this course is now so important, because now actually the not just the interpretation, but now actually the facts themselves have been altered. Like, hey, the deficit of trade between Canada and the United States, he made that up,
right.
But that's a fact, you know, and that can change policy. And here you have a guy, especially in the position that he is in, stating he's factually misrepresenting, and again, he does, as he said, I didn't know what it was, and I don't care. I said it in order to make a point that I wanted to make, and that's it.
Well, it's crazy and it's dangerous too, especially when you're in that position. I mean, I know the old joke was like, gosh, wouldn't it be great to get Alan Greenspan drunk at a party one night and see what he does and watch the markets change. I mean, it's
that's very true.
It totally happens there. Yeah, and another thing I got to think that sort of leads into it, and I am totally guilty of this. When I go walk my dog in the morning, I do like Twitter. I'm a fan of Twitter, and I sit there and I scan through my Twitter feed, and I've got a whole little list of news sources. And I mean, they're left, right, center, whatever it is. But I'm reading headlines, and that's what I get. And if something piques my mind, my daughter's in UK for a semester, so it's like, oh, there was a bomb in London. Then I would read that. Otherwise, I would just say, okay, well, now I know there was a bombing in London, and scroll on. Is that a problem with today's things? That we're taking this 140 or 280 characters at a time?
You hit it right on. We have become a society of skimmers. We skim. And again, I have some great examples of this in one of my lectures, where individuals have simply skimmed an article and then they have shared it on Facebook or whatever you do on Facebook. You share it and then all of a sudden it's disseminated to thousands of people. Right. But yet you didn't read the whole article to really find out what in fact was said in that article. You just read or skimmed the very top. And yes, you're exactly right. We don't delve into things nearly as deeply. I mean, you and I grew up reading books.
Yes.
A book. When I'm standing in front of a class and I mention a book, it's like something completely foreign to a lot of my students. And textbooks, I mean, they're completely turned off by. I had to write my own textbook for the European history class that I did, and it is so minimalized in order to get them to read just the little bit.
Would you argue dumbed down?
No, the information is still there. The ideas are still there, but it's such in a minimal way.
The brevity?
Exactly. It's such in a minimal way in order to keep them engaged in some way to read and to follow along in regard to the lecture.
Well, I had a teacher in high school that you talk about reading through and getting the whole gist of the article. We had a test, and I can't remember what subject it was, but at the bottom it says, okay, you're done the test. When you're done the test, turn it over and leave it on your desk. Turn it over and leave it on your desk. And turn it over, leave it on. It says, yeah, I'm not grading it, tear it up. And the people that left it on their desk got a C and was graded normally, and the ones that tore it up, they got the A. And it was just, okay, this is, I've got to...
Even when I do give some kind of exam like that, I have to specifically state over and over, read the directions.
Right.
And I took a test similar to yours like that, and this is where I learned it. And it was in high school that I encountered this. It was like 30 questions, and at the bottom it said, don't answer any of the questions, just write your name at the top. And some of the things that you had to do, you had to stand up and bark like a dog. You had to get up and run around. So all of a sudden you see these guys standing up and barking, and then it's him. And all you had to do, if you read the whole test first, if you read all the questions first, which you are supposed to do in order to understand just write your name.
Turn it in and go.
Yeah.
Have an early lunch. That's fantastic. Well, I'll tell you, there's one thing that we talked a little bit about the slant. I've got a couple headlines from a local website.
Yep.
I'll just read them to you and tell me whether you think they're bullshit or just slanted or whatnot. But I will say that it leans a little bit to the left, but they bill themselves as a serious journalism and creative content for people of Anne Arundel County. And that's sort of weirdly written, but we'll get on that. Headlines only: the dangerous extremism of County Executive Steve Shue. Would that be a suspicious?
Well, obviously, I'd have to read the entire article. I mean, for some people, and I have to admit, having moved out of Anne Arundel County for the last 8 years, I'm not as cognizant about it.
Sure.
But anyway, if they had a specific example of what he was doing, for some people would it be extreme, for other people would it not? I mean, would I think that's bullshit? I mean, maybe if I was very much pro county exec, I would say that's not extreme. That's what I want them to do.
Right. I mean, just there's some, like this one struck me too. It says women Democrats hope to flip the District 33 Boys Club out of the State House. And I'm thinking, okay, well, if you get rid of 2 words, Boys Club, I think it might be a legitimate, but that jumped out at me as being suspect.
Well, obviously, whoever wrote that headlines is very much of the opinion that the state legislature is a boys club, or the.
I mean, it is. Everyone has said that this is the year of the women. I mean, you look at the number of women that have registered to run for office that are running, and certainly the ones that have not voted that are going to be out to vote. And I just think it's funny. There's,
let me give you one.
Okay.
In 2016, and you can go on the internet and you can check this out. The number one bullshit story of 2016. Do you have any idea what that would be? During the presidential election.
It was related to politics.
Oh, yeah. And when I tell you what it is, you're going to say, oh, yeah, I remember. Yeah.
No. Our attention span is so gone. I mean, that's the beauty thing about it. You get in trouble, nobody remembers it tomorrow.
Pope Francis endorses Trump. That's the number one bullshit story. It was tweeted and sent almost 1 million times. It was initiated by a kid in Romania who wanted Trump to win the election, and he put it on Facebook, Twitter, all this stuff, which, by the way, has advertisements. Mm-hmm. And the kid ended up making money
off of that.
And he was doing all of these from Romania. When they talk about interference, outside interference, you see all of these things. And what's going to be the interesting follow-up when I show the kids this story is, first off, the Pope comes out, and this is Pope Francis now, and he uses a word that literally translated means to eat excrement. In other words, bullshitters,
right.
And then I have a picture, and I don't know if you remember seeing the picture of the Trump family. He took his daughter and son-in-law and his wife and Trump, and then Francis is standing next to him, and all the Trumps have a smile on their face, and there's Francis, has the biggest gloomy look, like, oh God, I got to put up with
another photo op
that I hate, But anyway, that was the number one. The number two was like Hillary doing
the pizza, selling babies out of the pizza store,
and that was Alex Jones. Now Alex Jones got it from a source that he in no way researched or anything, and he of course has a gig kind of like this, I guess, and disseminated it. And of course, the idea of having some child porn thing out of the pizza, it became Pizzagate.
Sure, everything's a gate.
And it so moved some kid from North Carolina. He came up and actually shot into the pizza.
That's right.
And he came out, and this is again going to be a great picture that the kids are going to see. Alex Jones came out and actually said, okay, it was all made up. It was completely made up. I have a picture. 2 weeks after that, there was a demonstration outside this pizza place in Georgetown with 2 people saying Pizzagate is not fake. Even after Alex Jones, who actually started it, and that's the thing. There's a saying that a lie can spread throughout the entire world before the truth gets its shoes on.
I totally believe it. And you look at the world of social media with the people with the zillions of followers and whatnot. I mean, I've been guilty of it. I mean, you see the death hoaxes, mm-hmm. I usually am suspicious when I see a death anymore now. But a lot of times I'll see somebody will retweet something from before Andy Griffith died. I'm like, oh man, there goes a bit of my childhood, and sorry man, and sorry to lose Andy Griffith. And I'm like, wait a minute, no, he died like a decade ago. And it goes like that. There's an interesting story in the Annapolis Film Festival, which is coming up, or actually it'll probably have just happened after this. There was a filmmaker that ultimately made a film out of an urban legend that he started. And it was over in Ellicott City. It was about a ghosty kind of a thing. And there were YouTube pages dedicated to it. There was full Reddit threads. There was a Facebook page. It was the Peeping Tom of Ellicott City Tunnel and whatnot. And he saw this thing he just threw it out there as a goof at one point, and it started to get wheels. He's like, I wonder what this is. And he made a full-length feature movie on it, which hopefully it'll make him some money and and it goes. But there are people that are saying, he totally made it up. You've got people going, oh no, I was there, I saw it.
Yeah.
I saw it with my own two eyes, and they'll double down on it.
One of the ideas that I cover, was initiated by Alberto Brandolini, and it's called the Alberto Brandolini Alsymmetry, which actually says that it takes almost 100 times more effort to refute, to kill bullshit than it does to actually initiate it. And so that's the problem that people, and again, this is where I'm getting kind of on my civic high horse, where I'm hoping to change these kids' minds and literally their whole mindset in the way that they perceive things, that when in fact this stuff does get disseminated wherever it is, it takes a lot of effort to get the truth out and to really try to encourage them to do exactly that. And I do go through, okay, you've discovered that it's bullshit. Okay, how do you then go about refuting it? And there are some ethical things that I'm going to be covering with the students on, okay, once you have actually discovered the bullshit, okay, what do you do next? And that's what I also cover.
It's a challenge, and you look in what's happening in D.C. now with Trump, and the jury is still out on whether he had any knowledge of this whole Russian thing. But I mean, we've got Mueller's investigation, and I mean, how much time, money, effort has he spent defending this? Which, in the end, it could quite possibly be bullshit. We don't know.
Yeah.
But it's, certainly it's a lot more effort to refute it, as you said, than it is to throw it out there.
Trump's tweeting initiates so much. And the problem is, of course, the source, the fact that he tweets, and how many millions of people does he have following him with that. Right. The difficulty in not just simply refuting what he tweets, but somehow to put the genie back in the bottle is pretty much impossible.
Yes, I agree.
And that's the sadness of all of this. That's what has become just part of our societal news makeup
of what we are now.
Yeah, and a lot of it, the internet, that iPhone that you got right there on your desk. That's the age that we live in. Yeah. We can disseminate information, good or bad, right or wrong, bullshit or not, in a matter of a nanosecond, and that's hard.
Now, what about the website Snopes? Are you familiar with it?
Yeah.
Okay. Legitimate source for refuting bullshit?
Yes.
Okay.
Very much so. That fact checker out of the Post.
Okay.
Where he gives the Pinocchio.
Right, the Pinocchio noses.
That's one. And then there's another one simply called Facts Check.
Okay.
Those are the three that are going to be the three that I'm going to recommend to my students.
I'm trying to remember.
snopes.com, factscheck.com, and then
the fact checker in the Washington Post.
The fact checker in the Washington Post.
Well, I know that during the debates in the lead up to the presidential, and I can't remember who it was, but they were doing a live commentary as each candidate said something, and they must have had a team, because they would put a link saying, okay, well, this is partially true, not true. It's very similar to what Snopes does with the links to it. It's like, okay, well, here's the article in the New York Times that said it was X dollars spent on this, or here's where he was quoted in 3 sources saying that, or here's where she did this, which I thought was really fantastic. I think this is a great course. I think it needs to be offered more places.
Well, again, I'm actually going to be a part of a roundtable discussion of community college professors over in Northern Virginia. It's the ECCSSA conference. It's the East Coast Conference of Social Science.
Okay.
And it's mainly for community colleges. And I'm leading one of the sessions over there. And again, I think of myself as kind of a Johnny Appleseed. I'm trying to, I don't want to keep this just to myself. I don't want Anne Arundel Community College to be the only school in the East Coast to do, or Maryland, to do this course. I mean, I wish every community college, every college would find a way to offer this.
There's a lot of basic stuff. I mean, there's a legislation passing through the House and Senate right now for adding basic fiscal understanding to high school curriculum, balancing checkbook, how does credit work, how to,
These guys out in Washington have actually gone to high schools, and there are some high schools out on the West Coast that are actually high schools now. Now, obviously, they're not using the word bullshit. Now, when I had to go through the accreditation policy, we have a committee at Anne Arundel that looks at all new classes, and it has to conform. And were there some concerns about the word bullshit? Yes, I will admit that. But bullshit, ironically, is actually an academic word. And I will admit, there's also a word that I used as a hook. I was hoping that would... Hey,
why not? I did when I wrote the headline on it.
And the amazing thing is, whenever... And of course, you can only imagine how... I'm pretty excited about this. I'm not at a stage in my career right now where I should be doing new classes. I mean, I could be just kind of, cruising along here. But I have become so excited about this. But every time I talk to anyone that seems the least bit interested in this, and I tell them about the course, and then I say, and the course is entitled Calling Out Bullshit. Immediately, they know what the course is about.
Right.
By that word bullshit. Because, again, it has become so prevalent in our society. We have been so inundated in our society with this that they, and just like you, are saying, God, this is such an appropriate class. I can't tell you how many emails I have gotten where the word appropriate has been used in saying, this is so appropriate for today. This is,
It totally is. It totally is. It's incredibly timely. And
I only have about 20 students signed up right now, but I probably have double that in the number of faculty that say they want to come into this class. So.
Well, I will say that for everybody that's listening to this will be offered again with Dr. Tengwall in the fall. I will point out that it is a 15-session class, you said?
15 sessions.
And when does the fall start? That starts late August?
Well, no, it's going to be in the second half of the fall. So it would be from about the 1st of October through the 1st of December.
So most of it in the fall will be taking place before the election.
Before the election. Oh, yeah.
So you want to make sure. I would
before
suggest,
November elections. Yes.
Jay, if you are a student, I think you should take this. We can use more knowledgeable, questioning young people as they come out of high school into adult world and start to replace us and bury us and buy us diapers. And certainly, there's any number of adults, myself included, that could use a bullshit detector, and I think this might be a good way to do it. Whether you audit the course or do it as a non-credit or whatnot, take a look with Dr. David Tengwall, who is... Are you the chair of the philosophy and political science?
I was 30 years the chair of history, philosophy, and political science. I'm just a lowly professor now.
It's like Chris Nelson was the president of St. John's for 26 years. He retired. He says, I'm going on vacation, and then I'm going to come back, and then I'm just going to be a master.
Yeah.
I'm just going to be the schlub walking into the class. And
No, I very much enjoy my I'm one of those lucky people. For 39 years, I have not cared if it's Monday, and I don't care if it's Friday. It's been a really good gig at Anne Arundel. And Anne Arundel is... and we see a lot of people say this and write it in the... I mean, it's interesting. 1/3 of the population in Anne Arundel County has some connection with that. Not, actually taking a class, adult ed class. That's because we have close to 20,000 credit students. So
right.
I mean, it's big. And it's grown tremendous, and especially in the nursing,
Right.
Those, the technical schools where you can actually get a degree and go out and work.
Yep.
The students that I have primarily are transfer students that are transferring to
University of Maryland or wherever.
Yeah, but I could not be happier being at any school. I mean, it's really been a great.
When was Anne Arundel Community College founded?
1961.
So you
started at Severna Park High School, the old one, the old Severna Park High School in 1961.
So you've seen quite a bit of change.
Oh yeah. I've seen. I mean, that campus is really. When I got there, it was about 3,000 or 4,000, and now it's just.
And you started at the Severna Park campus, or did you?
No. By the time I got there, it was at Arnold. Yeah.
And Arundel Mills was just a dream.
Oh yeah, just that. I mean, we did have satellites. We had satellites out at Fort Meade. We had one down at South River High School. I taught down there one time. Glen Burnie High. We would use the high schools as satellites. Facilities. But then Anne Arundel Community College, by the way, built Arundel Mills on our own. In other words, no state.
There's no state money on that.
And that's
they've got a very robust foundation. I know.
They do.
Raises the funds there. I know they're great with military vets.
Yep.
Nursing, culinary is very, very strong. Again, the trades coming out, and it's a wonderful transfer school.
That's one place. Her name is Mary Ellen Mason, who also lives in Prospect Bay with me. Mary Ellen Mason is the head of the culinary. And if you wanted another interview, they rank, I mean, this is hard to believe, but they rank 14th in the country in culinary schools.
Little Anne Arundel County.
Anne Arundel
Community College. Okay.
Anne Arundel Community, the 4th in the country. You ever heard of Wales and Johnson as a culinary school down in Carolinas?
I mean, I've heard of it.
They rank like 20th, but Anne Arundel Community College is like 14th in the country. That's culinary school.
Putting out some good stuff.
Oh, they really. My daughter actually went through that program, and it's a superior program. The nursing, the paramedics. They got physician's assistants. They got dental hygienists. It's tremendous. It's a great.
Like I say, my son graduated out of South River, and he had no clue which direction he was going. We were in the Air Force one week. We were graphic design. We were law enforcement. We were criminal justice. We had no idea. And I said, look, before we spend the money to find a place that you're not happy, let's look at Anne Arundel. And maybe economics will really jazz you. Personally, I hope not. But you'll find something that will really jazz you up and get you excited. And he did. He got into the tech end of it, and he ended up, getting a degree, a 4-year degree out of cyber, and he's doing, incredibly well and being recruited by other people. And so, I mean, I can't live in these.
The cyber program actually was one of the first in the country
as well
to be funded by Homeland Security.
Right, and that's in coordination with Fort Meade.
And I've had many students that are interning at NSA, and just to get into NSA, once you get your foot in the door, is a major.
Right. It's even better when you get in without crashing through the gate and getting shot at too. So that.
I don't know.
Well, Dr. Tengwall, thank you very much for your time and coming out on your vacation as well, because right now the college is on vacation. I look forward to hearing all about bullshit, and maybe we can talk after the first round of classes is done and see how it went. And I imagine you'll be tweaking it as you go along.
Jeez. Yeah, it's a work in progress. And I'm going to tell the students that. I mean, they're going to have to give me a little leeway,
Well, they're also going to give you the feedback too.
I hope so. Yeah.
Well, that's great. Congratulations on coming out, calling out bullshit. The Art of Deceptive Misrepresentation, debuting at Anne Arundel Community College on March 19th. So it's underway at this point, but sign up for it in the fall. It'll be just a fascinating class to attend. I think that's on my list of things to do for the fall.
I enjoyed that. I'm not going to lie.
He's a great guy. He's awesome.
A few things. So here's what I got to do: the false equivalency. We always say this. So I'm center, lean left. I'm not liberal. Mm-hmm. You are center, you lean right. You're not hardcore conservative. So even though we agree on most things, and I think a few people point that out, say then you have to get someone on there who disagrees with you guys because you agree on a lot. We disagree with some stuff. Net neutrality, for example. We disagree because I'm right and you're wrong. But the reason I brought that up is because I want to preface that where I'm going to say a lot of stuff that criticizes the conservative side, because I think that right now with Fox News having the bully pulpit they do, they're more guilty of this. The left certainly, I got to do the equivalency here. The left certainly has their fake news. A perfect example of that is the vaccines. That is a left conspiracy.
Sure.
All that said, the conservatives, I don't think, have a grasp on what fake news is. They think that fake news is something they don't like. So it's a story they don't like. So collusion is a fake news. It's not fake news because it's not made up.
That's exactly what Trump has done. I mean, if he hears something that he doesn't agree with,
right.
Whether it's based in fact or not, it's fake news.
Right, and people set it up saying that it's fake. I'm like, it's not fake. It's a debate. You can the same way that you could say the Clintons killing people. I have Hillary, and I hear that is fake news because
they weren't. They were just selling babies out of the pizza place.
Right. Yeah. So that all said, this is nothing new. So I think the fake news. If you look back at the Spanish-American War, says William Randolph Hearst, the yellow journalism, he was broadcasting fake news because a lot of that was jingoism at the time. I remember during the Iraq War, the Iraq invasion, when Iraq, they were snatching babies out of incubators and killing them. They were saying that about the Japanese and the Nazis in World War II. So that was used as jingoistic news, and that was fake news. The Seth Rich story, that is fake news. It's a theory, it's a conspiracy theory. The ping pong pizza, that is fake news.
Sure.
But so differentiating what is a slant and what's fake news. If I watch Fox and Friends in the morning, which I do because I hate watch them, and because that's what he said. He said the conservatives watch their outlet, and that's true. Conservatives and liberals stay in their ponds. So whenever I hear someone who watches fake news, and I have a lot of conservative friends who say, the liberal media would never tell you this. I'm like, how would you know? You don't listen to anything but Fox News. And I watch both. I watch all of it. I mean, I tend to hate watch Fox News because I hate the way they slant it. But yes, MSNBC, of course, spins theirs as well. But is it fake news that's coming out of Fox? Well, sometimes, I mean, not that often. I think the Seth Rich thing is certainly fake news. They're getting sued for it. That's obviously something that has no basis in fact. It's a conspiracy theory. There's no supporting evidence. So that is a fake story. And he said in the interview, he goes, PolitiFact, and what's the one for Washington Post? The Pinocchios. Yeah.
Fact checker.
I think everyone has their cognitive biases, and I can't exclude that myself from that either. Of course, I have my cognitive dissonance is that I tend to find information that supports my views because it makes me feel smarter.
As does everybody.
Yeah. So, but I try and be good about that. But if I watch it online when people have the debates going, and I'll participate in online debates. I like that. But if something is disproven by PolitiFact or by the Pinocchios, by Fact Check, then they attack that and say, oh yeah, why would you go to Snopes? Why would you go to Play? Because they obviously are in the can for...
I've got a friend that does that. That swears up and down that Snopes is just a left-wing, propaganda machine. And of course they're going to dispute anything that I say is right. And it's exactly what you're saying. It's, he's right in his own pond and he doesn't want to go outside of the pond. If everybody says his pond is not right,
well, it's difficult to admit when you're wrong. And here's the thing, is I like online debates. I really enjoy them if they're legitimate, if they're all done in good faith and people are actually using facts. But I will go in before I make any statement and I will triple check because I don't want to get called out for something.
Sure.
But there's some times when someone will have a point. Like for example, and this doesn't go to fake news, but someone put out when we were talking about the gun control debate, and it was when I think Walmart said that they weren't going to sell to people over 18.
Right.
And somebody said, well, how is that any different than a baker refusing to provide a cake for a gay couple? And you know what? It made me think. And I'm like, that's an excellent question. And that actually made me rethink my position on the whole gay wedding cake thing. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe they do have a right to refuse service. They're lousy human beings for doing it, but how is that different than saying even though the age to buy a gun is 18, we're not going to do that?
Well, in a capitalistic society, nobody has. I can choose who to do business with and who not to do business with.
Yeah, but my point is that you have to be honest intellectually when you have these debates,
yes.
And we're not. I mean, none of us are, but I mean, I think the fake news takes it way we're in a dangerous place. For example, Liz Cheney, she's the congresswoman from Wyoming, and she threw out a tweet last week that I called her out on, not that she cares, but in that they were talking about torture, as she calls enhanced interrogation techniques. So it's very 1984 speak, where she said, it has given us valuable information, including the location of bin Laden. That is absolutely, unequivocally untrue. That is absolutely untrue. That Zero Dark 30 pushed that too. That fictional account that it was the waterboarding that gave us the information that led to the capture of bin Laden. That is 100% untrue. And the Senate Intelligence Committee did a 3-year investigation that said that torture didn't work and that the information that we gleaned from the torture was useless. The Republican Senate Intelligence Committee came up with that. So, but here you have a congresswoman who's pushing out and that is fake. It is untrue. It is a lie, and you have a congresswoman pushing that out. That is fake news.
Well, I think also another one of the things that issues, whatever you want to call it, is that the platforms that we have now, and we'll blame social media on this. What was that congressman's audience 15 years ago?
Right.
For Christ's sakes, would anybody listen to the Maryland Crabs if we didn't have...
Do they now?
The Facebook and the Twitter and everything else.
Well, you guys talked about that, where you said that... What was the example you used? That a lie can run 100 miles before the truth gets its shoes on or something like that?
Absolutely. But, you look at Trump with his, 30 million or 100 million, whatever it is, people
42.
that are following him. There's a guy that can turn around and he can put anything out, and there's people that will... sampling of those people will believe whatever it is that he says. And that's the same for Fox News. That's the same for, as Dr. Tengwall had said, you look at the Sean Spicer and the inauguration. Spicer should have turned around and said, immediately owned it and said, no, well, I'm talking about internet, and CNN was streaming. And
all right, that's where I disagreed with the both of you, is that because that's not what they said. They said that at least they positioned it as there's more people in attendance than ever. Now, if he would have said what I meant was more people watching it.
That's the whole thing. He never followed that up. He said more people watched this inauguration than any in history. I believe that is almost the exact quote. He didn't say attended. Okay, he said watched was the word. Okay, and that is indeed true, but
I don't know if that's true.
But he never held that back.
I don't know if that's true because people who would normally watch on TV, instead they watch online, so it's a push at that point. So you're losing the TV audience, but then you're going... Well, you're not adding the people who are watching online to the people who are watching on TV because
there's more people able to watch it online today.
Yeah, but then
than there were 8 years ago.
But then they're not watching it on TV. So you're transferring one audience from one medium to another.
No, but there's a lot of other people that would not have watched it on TV. What about the people that work?
Well, they're great, but...
that don't have the ability to watch it on TV.
Well, but I think we're making assumptions that it was most watched just because...
Come on.
Well, yeah, we're making an assumption.
No, we're not. Tell me you don't think that there's a UPS driver that pulled over on the side of the road and watched the inaugural speech for 20 minutes.
I don't think it's a stretch. I think we're making assumptions. See, that's the thing, is that you guys, and including the doctor, were making assumptions that it was most watched. It had the potential to be,
okay,
sure.
Well, I don't know what the numbers are, but you said... Well, actually, I do know what the numbers are. You look and see what CNN said that they streamed. The number of people that were watching as they streamed it. Okay? You tell me the BBC was carrying Trump's inaugural address. Did they carry Obama's address? Did they carry Bush's address? What about Al Jazeera over
I don't know, maybe. But we're working on assumptions, though. We're not working on facts.
Well, I agree. But what happens is Spicer should have come back and said, hey, I'm not talking about physical attendance here. I'm talking about people that have actually saw it, watched it, streamed it, YouTubed it, whatever the hell it was. There's more people who've seen that. And I think that's a very valid statement. I don't know that it's factually true. I would venture to say that it is, because we didn't have the streaming technology when Obama was elected, the widespread streaming technology.
Yeah, but again, so that's where I've gotten in my life, is I'm looking for solid facts. If you can show me, if someone makes some sort of a statement about some medical phenomenon, like, ginseng is the new thing, or, I have a couple friends who are into the vaccine conspiracy. Show me a peer-reviewed study, and then we can talk. But people say, well, it just doesn't, if getting that many shots at once is just, you can't tell me that doesn't damage a baby's DNA. I'm like,
that's
yeah,
not valid.
Just show me the facts and we can work from there. The same thing with the president's inauguration.
Right, I'll get back to you with the facts on those.
Yeah, you better.
You know who I would like to have a podcast with is Dr. Tengwall, and I'm drawing a blank on the guy's name, but he lives here in Annapolis. Do you remember the guy that got arrested and busted for actually creating fake news?
Oh, yeah, that guy.
He lives here in Eastport.
But was he doing that for money, or
I think he was doing it for Trump, and he was doing his advertising money. He was trying.
No, but there was one guy who was liberal who was doing it to prove a point, and then it got out of hand. Where he was creating.
Not sure. I think this guy was pretty pretty far to the right, and he was doing it. I don't know that he was doing it for Trump, but he was certainly doing to support it during the campaign. And I can't remember what the big story was that blew up, but they said that, I mean, he got tons and tons of ad revenue because he had thrown that over. And that would be a great conversation to have between Dr. Tengwall and him.
Well, that's because the same way that people have now muddied the waters of the meaning behind the words fake news, they do that with satire too. Because satire to me is the onion. It's something that is absurd and it's not true. But you have a lot of these websites that are pushing out fake news that are just lies. I mean, they're not satire because there's nothing ironic about them. There's nothing funny. It is pushed out as the truth, and then buried underneath it says, well, it's satire.
And that's not satire. Satire between satire and fake news, that is a very fine line.
I don't know. Satire, I think, is easily distinguished from fake news. Yeah, I can put out a story that's completely and totally fake and say, well, it's not true, so that makes it satire. And I think people are doing that disingenuously too. They don't mean it to be satire, but they're falling back on that, saying, oh, it was satire. No, it wasn't. It was a blatant lie.
And there's no element of real humor in there or anything like that.
That's what fake news is, and that's what I'm telling to my conservative friends and everyone who says, it's fake news. Fake news is a story that's made out of whole cloth, that there's no facts supporting that whatsoever, that you cannot prove without a shadow of doubt that the information that you're putting out there is true, versus a story that you just don't like. Maybe there was no collusion, but it's not fake news that there's an investigation and that there's contacts. So I'm not saying that collusion did or didn't exist, but it's not fake news. Fake news is something that's completely made up. Right? And that's what frustrates me, is that that's become clouded. Well, anyway.
Hey, speaking of fake news, we apparently, according to former Alderman Littman, put out some fake news the other day. And actually, you can step away from this. This must have been... No, actually, you were part of the conversation.
Actually, sometimes we'll play a game that we discuss something before the podcast, go, well, we're going to bring this up. And then when we bring it up, I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. This is actually and honestly a surprise to me. So
you don't know where it goes.
So I don't know where this is going.
No, at the end of Gavin Buckley's interview, we were talking about, and former Alderman Littman said that I said that Mike Panelides had decreased the staff of the city.
Oh, then this is you. This isn't me.
And yes, he said it was me. And I said, oh, that was Tim. And he said, no, it was you.
Yeah, I know.
He put me right in my place. And I thought that he had.
I thought that he... Oh, wait a minute. No, all right. So here's... Okay, you continue.
And I remember I thought that he had, but... Jared had said that, no, if you look at the numbers, that he actually did increase the number of employees there. But he also said that there's different ways to look at that. Do you look at it as his jobs? Do you look at it as contractors? Do you look at it as full-time employees, full-time equivalents, and whatnot? There's a number of ways to look at it. But overall, there were more people working for the city when Mike Panelides left office than when he came into office. Potentially fake news. I'm going to take a look at it and see what I can find out.
I think two things on that. The first, I thought that he reduced employees by attrition, so that there were some empty positions that he just said we're not going to fill them. So I guess there were not employees in those roles when he came on, and he decided, well, I'm not going to put employees in those roles. So he didn't technically reduce the size of city government, but he just didn't increase it. But I'm probably wrong on that. And the second one was, I remember, just going the other way, I remember distinctly when they talked about reducing the size of his staff at City Hall, that's when Fred Payon had said that that's when it got partisan. And he said, well, if this was a Democratic mayor, you wouldn't do that, but because he's Republican. So I don't remember what came of that, but I just remember that was the debate that night.
Maybe they were counting Mike Leahy as 6 or 7. I can't remember how many times he was hired and left and hired and left and hired and left and
he just kind of bounced between the state and the city, didn't he? Getting raises every time.
Yeah, pension here, pension there. What the heck, That's going to wrap it for this episode. And next week, we've actually got an interesting one with Skip Auld from the Anne Arundel County Public Library, just as they're about to move out of Annapolis and temporarily while they rebuild a new regional library there. And that was actually a very fascinating conversation there. So make sure you tune in next Thursday, because you're going to learn how to check out a human being.
I already know how to do that. Oh, you mean, gotcha. That does an entendre. Right. In the meantime, go to the film festival.
Rate us, do all that kind of stuff, and we will see you next week.
This has been the Maryland Crabs Podcast with Tim Hamilton and John Fernay. Sure to follow them at all the regular places, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and online at themarylandcrabs.com. Take a moment to rate us on iTunes. Now, get the hell out of my kitchen. Seriously, go!
You still here? It's over. Go home. Go.